Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax. And today, wisdom in unlikely places. So, recently I watched a podcast with an actress from an old TV show called Pretty Little Liars. It's really not that old. There's been spin-offs and all of this kind of stuff. But I was really taken by this actress's perspective on life, how she sees the world, how she seems to have a lot of like grace and wisdom. Context, she started acting at like 3 years old, and she was on the show from the time that she was 12 until the time that I think she was like 21 or something like that. Long time. And one of the things that really struck me and the podcast hosts was how wise and beyond her years she seemed. Like, she's filming this podcast when she's 30 and she has kids now, and she's got a pretty, I would say, honest view of the world, and she's not bitter or upset about anything, but she can just talk very frankly but also very gracefully about her circumstances and situations. And while I was watching this podcast, it really got me thinking about how, man, like you can really pick up wisdom from anybody. And although this actress, very, very smart, very, very intelligent, I have nothing but good things to say about her. It got me thinking that I think most people are like this. I think most people have this underrated wisdom and knowledge within them. And it's got me thinking all day about the wisdom from unlikely places and how people you wouldn't initially associate with wisdom or knowledge actually have a lot to teach us, and they have a lot to instill and try and help you focus in on the things in your life that matter most. Or maybe they just have these tidbits of wisdom that really like hit you and shape and change the way that you see the world or the way you interact with it. Another good example of this that I have been thinking about is my younger brother. He is 4 years younger than me and has lived a very different life than me, although we grew up in the same house and, have the same biological parents and all that stuff. But he is not on social media. He's not interested in any of that kind of stuff. He is very much like, if you're in front of him, you're in front of him. He is very present when you are with him in person. It is impossible to have any kind of relationship with him if you are not standing in front of him. That's not to say that he doesn't love the people in his life who are all over the world, but he tends to drop these little like truth bombs that my family, ends up thinking about for weeks and weeks and weeks. And he has this way of understanding people and the way the world works and how things are likely to turn out. He can't see the future, but you would be thinking maybe he can if you met him. And again, he's another person that you wouldn't associate with this inherent wisdom or knowing and understanding of how the world works. But he definitely has this. He definitely has this keen sense of direction. I always think of it like a ship in the night, and how some of these sailors, especially a few hundred years ago, could just instinctively know like a storm was coming, or they had to go this way, or they had to turn this way, and they can use the stars to guide them. And I think there are a lot of people out in the world today who have this gift or this talent. Apologies, my throat's a little dry. But they have this talent and this ability to just see what things are happening and kind of see them before they happen. And I wanted to kind of talk about this in the sense of, we discount or disregard a lot of people in life based on their appearance, based on their profession or that kind of thing. How they talk. Maybe they swear like a sailor. Maybe they are very soft-spoken. Maybe they're super loud and in your face. But all of these people have circumstances and upbringings and experience that give them a specific insight into a way of life. You know, one of my best friends, who is no longer with us, it's not the one who recently passed away, it's, one a while ago, but she was very much a party girl, very much a queen bee, think like Blair Waldorf or like the It Girl. She very much portrayed that, but when I would hang out with her alone, she would share these huge truth bombs that would just blow my whole mind. Bef- I'll give you a sense of how incredible she was at this. Before I met her, I had almost no social skills. Like, I was super awkward. I could just about make like a 5 hour party or social situation without exploding into my autistic tendencies and things like that. And I never really felt like I could ever understand people. Like, I really felt before I met her that I'm never going to get people. They're always going to be so confusing. They always seem really confused by me. I never get like how to socially interact back and forth. Now I know that every conversation should be kind of like a badminton match or a tennis match, like the ball is in your court, you serve it, they serve it back, and it goes back and forth. And there is like a flow and a natural rhythm. I didn't get that. And then I met my friend. And like I said, from the surface, you would think, oh my gosh, gorgeous It Girl, probably super shallow, very pretentious, likes the sparkly things, likes the fast cars and the private jets and that kind of stuff. That's what you would think. But actually spending time with her, and I'm fortunate that she became my best friend, she taught me so much. And she would just have these little moments of like epic wisdom that she would share, and you'd just be left kind of speechless. Like, we'd go to a party and then we'd be driving home afterwards or getting an Uber home afterwards, and she would detail the most incredible insight into different people at the party, or what's going on with them, or how she like had to check on somebody because they walked away alone, and then they had this epic conversation about things going wrong, and she just knew this stuff was going on. Like, she could innately surmise the social situations and what exactly was happening, and if this person needed some help or if this person needed a nudge, or she could tell if a guy wanted to like ask a girl out, and she would kind of like push him into her, and she would like match make, and she would do all of these things. And sure, there were always mistakes. Like, I don't want to glorify past situations or glorify the dead in any way, shape, or form, but like, she really was on another level when it came to people and social situations. And she taught me so much. And before I met her, if I'd just seen her on the street or something, I would have just discounted her as this flimsy, like, it girl who probably doesn't know what's going on in the world. But the truth was that that was the tip of the iceberg, and the wisdom and knowledge and the innate direction, the sense of direction that she had in life was so fine-tuned. And I'm sure it came from an upbringing and from context and from just who she was as a person. But these situations, the actress I was listening to, my friend, and my brother all point to the idea and the conclusion I've just come to, that wisdom is within everybody. It might be a very refined or a very specialized savant kind of knowledge or understanding. For example, if I wanted to get economic theory and understanding of the world's economy, I would go to my dad, because he is so fixated and interested in that kind of stuff. If I wanted to talk about spirituality and the way the world works and how, you deal with anxiety and stress, my mom is the person to go to for that. My grandparents, all four of them, provided very specific and yet inherently useful information about how to navigate the world in different situations, and whether it was a social situation, whether it was to do with gardening or working or marriage or relationships, like, each one of them had a very specific and fine-tuned understanding of their world, and that generated the wisdom. I've said it many times on the channel before, But I believe that wisdom is the accumulation of experience plus knowledge. It's being able to recall situations in your life that had a very impactful impact on you, while also having the knowledge of, X equals B because this, and so those kinds of those kinds of tenets, apologies, mini stroke, those kinds of attributes kind of shape how we interact with everybody. And if everybody has these things and they're all just slightly different, it means that you can acquire them from other people. And I think that's pretty incredible and pretty magical. I'll have conversations oftentimes at the gym or out in the world with just random people that want to talk, and I'm always interested in chatting, that just give you this slight hint that, oh man, there's a lot of deeper thought and understanding going on here. And I've learned things from my little nephews who are younger than 5 years old, and I've learned things from my grandfather at 92. I've learned things from peers, people my age, in their 20s and 30s, getting ready to start their lives, or they're starting their lives. And I think you just have to really be open to thinking about the wisdom that they're sharing. Like, it's very easy. Like I said, I could have walked by my friend on the street and had one opinion, and I would have been totally wrong. So it's very easy to discount. Our lives are busy and stressful, and innately, it's an incredible web of moving parts and intricate gears and shifters and clutches and all of that kind of stuff. But just being able to pick up on that and go, oh, that's a really good piece of wisdom, or I should remember that, or write it down. And I often do write these things down in like a little wisdom journal thing I have. So yeah, that's the piece of advice for today. I think people have wisdom in every shape or form that they come in, every age, every delineation you can make of humans. I think there is a huge amount of wisdom to be pulled and to be hopefully incorporated into your life in a positive way. Obviously, there are toxic ideas, and there is such a thing as bad wisdom, and you have to be very careful to filter that kind of stuff out, because if you don't filter it out, you will learn through experience that wisdom is in fact bad and tainted, and you will have to remove it anyway. So might as well just try and pick up the good stuff without picking up the bad apples. That is my 2 cents. Thank you for listening to this video on wisdom in the many forms that it comes in. I hope this helped. I hope you can gain a new point of wisdom or a new sense of clarity in how you interact with people. Obviously, you don't have to spend your whole life just trying to accumulate wisdom, like sit down with a random stranger and be like, tell me your secrets. You don't have to do it that way. It can just be a passive kind of thing. But if you are aware that this exists and that people have different forms of wisdom, then maybe it opens your eyes to it. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.